Hey, how's it going? All right, I wanted to talk about Melissa Harris Perry, the lady that's on the right here. She is talking about the Trayvon Martin case and her children and the issue with what's going on in our society. I just wanted to talk about that real quickly, so let me go ahead and play it.
I think part of the reason I was having that reaction was because my 11-year-old is apparently, she's home with her father and she was watching and texted me that she felt like there was no justice in America. And
You got to wonder why her 11-year-old daughter, would be thinking there's no justice in America. Maybe it's because the this 11-year-old has been brainwashed by her mother to think that because a black kid was killed by a white guy in self-defense, that somehow or another that proves there's no justice.
my big sister told me that her 12-year-old son had gotten in bed with them tonight. And as I was listening to as I'm listening to this, I think, so here are your choices as an African American parent. You can live in, we live in such a racially segregated country that you're trying to do the best thing for your kids. So you think, okay, we'll go live in the black neighborhood. We'll live in a predominantly African American.
So she wants to do what's best for her kids. So what does she say is the best thing for her kids? To go live in a predominantly black neighborhood. I don't know how she's suggesting that somehow is best for her kids, other than maybe it's got something to do with race. I don't know. To me, that sounds racist.
Community. One of the things we know is that those communities are often plagued with crime that takes the lives of African American children. It is the reality that most young black men, 17, 18, who die in this country from gunshot wounds, from violence, die at the hands of other African American men.
So how would it be that you think you're doing the best thing you can for your kid to bring him into that neighborhood where you just admitted that it's much more dangerous and that the chances of your black child being killed by a bullet is 10 times, 10 times more likely to be fired from a black person? It makes no sense.
So here you want to live in this community, but then you think, okay, maybe I can't. So then maybe you move to a community like the one where Trayvon Martin's father was living, where you have the gated community, where you feel safe to let your kid walk at 7 o'clock over to the 7-Eleven and pick up some candy during the game.
Ah, you mean like a community where they actually have a good guy that goes around the neighborhood as a volunteer watchman, a guy that makes sure that Trevon could walk through the neighborhood safely without being hurt or injured. As long as he doesn't attack anybody, he probably won't be injured in that community.
The idea that that community too is not safe because they can be profiled and potentially victimized by violence by those who will see them as not.
You gotta wonder if she even heard any bit of the frickin' trial. Any little bit of it. How stupid. You know, I'm so worried because my little boy he might get shot if he beats up the night watchman, if he bangs his head on the concrete as hard as he can trying to kill him. My son might get shot. It's tough shit. Teach your kid not to beat people.
Belonging there. It, I don't know that I can express, but I want to try that it begins to feel like there is no place that you can be, no choice that you can make, no home that you can buy, no place where you can put your kid in school where it is safe. And
That's right. As long as your kid's a thug and he wants to go around beating people up that did nothing more than follow him in the gated community to secure the community for the single mothers, then you're right. Your child has no safe place to go except prison, where he belongs.
I think this is what Newtown families felt when their little beautiful children sitting in their own elementary school were gunned down, and they said, "Whoa, wait! What is happening in a country where you can't be safe in elementary school?" But I think that is a feeling that is so familiar and brought home by this case for so many of us that there is no safe place to be.
That's right. There is no safe place for thugs, especially in Florida. Believe me, More people armed themselves in the last year in Florida than ever in the history of Florida. So, yeah, if you're a thug and you're thinking about beating up somebody, think again because we're going to pull out our gun and we're going to unload. You know? Think. Now, Miss Harris Perry, you want to protect your children? You don't want your children to be killed? Teach them how to deal with people, human beings. Now, if Trayvon would have turned around and said, I'm sorry, did I do something wrong? No, George would have said, I'm the night watchman. I'm trying to make sure that you're not doing anything wrong. That's why I'm watching you. Well, then he could have said, "Oh no, absolutely, sir. I'm staying right down here with my dad. I'm only visiting, and I would never do anything wrong." I mean, lie. We know Trayvon was into bad stuff. We know that he was a robber, that he had women's jewelry and a burglary tool. We know that. We know that when he was looking in the windows, he had a plan. We know that. You know? We're not stupid. You're not going to talk us into believing that he just was passing through. It took him all that time to get 1 mile in the rain. Yeah, he's running in the rain. Sure he is. hmm Anyway, I wanted to
What
say
does a
that.
parent say to a child?
I wanted to point it out that I think that this lady and all the race baiters on MSNBC, CNN, and all the rest are teaching their children the wrong thing. Their children will die because they're telling their children that it's okay to do what Trayvon did. So everybody who supports Trayvon and says Trayvon did the right thing, prepare, just go ahead and start saving money for the casket for your child. Because as soon as your child does the same thing Trayvon does, he's going to be dead. And guess what? The guy that shoots him deader than a doornail and puts him in his grave 6 feet underground is going to walk free just like George. In fact, in most cases, especially now, they're not going to file charges against these guys. All right? So, Miss Harris Perry, teach your children to act properly, like I taught my children. I told my children never put your hand on another human being unless they are attacking you physically. Then you're allowed to defend yourself. Never put your hands on somebody because they're following you. If you do, once you put your hands on them, they have the right to self-defense. And where they stop, no one knows. So I taught my children this well, and my children never laid a hand on anyone. One thing I thought was interesting I wanted to say real quick is Dee Dee, in her interview with Pierce Morgan, said that the reason she didn't scream and say rude things to Don West was because her parents raised her properly. Her parents told her that this is an adult. You treat adults with respect. Whether you know him or not, you respect him. Do you think Trayvon was respecting George? Do you think Trayvon knew that he was an adult? Do you think Trayvon was taught by his parents that he's got to respect people, adults, and that he doesn't have the right to attack people walking through a gated community because they happen to be walking behind you? So that's my main point. I wanted to say it. I feel better about saying it. Good talking to you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.